Alright friends, it's Mardu Surge Precon upgrade time. Let's begin. First, let's get the most important thing out of the way. Is Mardu Surge worth buying? Well, if you're looking for an aggressive Mardu deck that is focused on attacking with creature tokens and then sacrificing those tokens for extra value, then Mardu Surge absolutely delivers. In the stock list, I count 29 cards that create creature tokens, 18 cards that reward attacking, and 13 cards that reward you for your creatures dying. So it's consistently going to feel like a go-wide token combat deck with a sacrifice sub-theme. Go-wide token combat with sacrifice is the default Mardu archetype, so there's a massive pre-existing card pool to make this concept work, including multiple previous precons, most recently the Hail Caesar Fallout precon from last year. The stock list comes with great staple reprints here too, like Grand Crescendo, which is one of the best token generators and protection spells rolled into one, Skullclamp, which is busted card draw in a deck full of disposable 1/1s, and Divine Visitation, which turns all your 1/1 tokens into game-ending angels. But also, new cards are all powerful and fit the theme well, like Ionok Strike Leader, another amazing new token generator and protection, Will of the Mardu, busted token generation and removal staple together, and Iron Will Forger, a super flashy way to give any creature Myriad. And by the way, Myriad works especially well with our commander Zurgo, since Zurgo is guaranteed to draw cards when those Myriad tokens leave the battlefield. So there's a lot to like here, but now let's talk about the problems and how we're going to solve those with our upgrades. First, there's quite a few bad token generators in the deck. In my opinion, the best token generators are ones that either flood the board with tokens at instant speed, like the already mentioned Grand Crescendo, because they let you keep your mana up on opposing turns and cast them the end step before your turn, having an instant army that can immediately swing and catch your opponents by surprise. Alternatively, we have token generators that are incredibly mana efficient, like Adeline, which for 3 mana is making 3 attacking tokens each combat when you have 3 opponents. Compared to those good token makers, cards like Mere Battlesphere, Siege Gang Commander, and Lingering Souls simply don't provide enough tokens for the amount of mana they require. So we're cutting these for better token makers. The next problem is the deck's lack of interaction, especially its removal, which is surprising because that's literally Mardu's greatest strength. The removal we do have is passable, like Bitter Triumph and Abrade, but disappointing considering how much better options we have in our colors. So we're going to swap in better removal. Then we have the issue of attacking. While our creature tokens actually want to die in combat so we get those sweet Zurgo draw triggers, our non-token creatures don't want to die to blockers. But there's basically no forms of evasion in the deck. So we're going to add a few more ways to make attacking easier. And then the final issue is the deck's ramp. It's so boring, just the most basic signets and talismans, and that's pretty much it. These get the job done and mana fix for us, but it feels like such a wasted opportunity not to run more synergy-focused ramp that can really pop off for us. Also, the stock list lands are acceptable, but very underwhelming. And 37 lands is a tad low in my opinion. Okay, now that we've identified some issues, let's talk about the $25 upgrade guide. But before we do that, a quick reminder that you can purchase all these sweet new cards over at our sponsor, cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. First, let's talk about exciting ramp cards. We're a sacrifice deck, so Pitiless Plunderer is a no-brainer here. It just poops out so many treasure tokens, it's ridiculous. Mahadi Emporium Master is another easy inclusion here for the same reason as the Plunderer. It's not as good, but it is very good here. Less talked about though is Rose Room Treasurer. It essentially makes 2 treasures per turn in a token deck, which is already great, and sometimes you'll even use it as removal. And I've got a second rose for you with Cutthroat Raider. It's not traditional ramp per se, but it's both draw and ramp rolled into one, since you make mana whenever you crack a junk token for the card draw. Honestly, Rose is seriously underrated in general and a total MVP in a token deck. Indulge to Excess is both a token generator and later can be used as a treasure generator too. Again, very strong synergy in the deck. But by far my favorite ramp tech in the deck is a little bit controversial. It's Settle the Wreckage and Path to Exile. Now, before you click off the video, let me explain. This is a token deck looking to sacrifice our 1/1s for value, right? And if they leave the battlefield while attacking, then Zerga draws us cards for them, right? So in that case, Path to Exile reads, pay 1 mana, exile a random attacking token we don't care about to ramp out a basic land and draw a card, which is ridiculously efficient. And Settle the Wreckage is even better. We can exile like 5 attacking tokens to ramp 5 lands and draw 5 cards, which is absolutely busted. And then on top of all this, you can obviously use these cards as removal spells when needed too. I swear, these 2 cards are the best cards to add to a Zergo deck. I'm not crazy, I swear, just think about it. Also, an extra tip when utilizing Path to Exile and Settle the Wreckage on your own creatures, you can wait until the end of combat phase after your attacking creatures dealt damage. They'll still be considered attacking until you leave combat, so at end of combat, they're still attacking creatures, then you can utilize Path to Exile and you'll trigger Zergo and draw a card off it still. Okay, as for better token generators, the best of the best is Secure the Waste. Instant speed, super mana efficient army in a can is just too good. Then there's Anim Pakal, a crazy efficient token generator that even has those tokens entering attacking. And unsurprisingly, we're adding Caesar, the commander of the Fallout Precon deck that is literally doing the exact same thing as we're doing here, which is all about giving us tokens, card draw, and is even a finisher all in one. Less flashy, but still pretty good is Sky Knight Vanguard. It only makes a single token per turn, but it's a 2-drop and helps out our curve. And the last big inclusion is Hammers of Moradin. Mirrored works super well with Zergo, and it also helps with our lack of evasion by tapping down potential blockers. Speaking of attacking, Reconnaissance is the single best way to make sure any attacking creatures don't die if we don't want them to. And it even gives our creatures pseudo-vigilance by untapping them after they deal combat damage at the end of combat phase. Sundering Eruption is another way to get through blockers, also gets rid of problem lands, and can also be played as a land. So this is the 38th land in the deck. Then for removal, we've obviously got Ruinous Ultimatum, the single best reason to be in Mardu in my opinion, and it helps with attacking since creatures can't block if they're all dead. Crackling Doom is also a highly underrated card in my opinion. It's super efficient removal. And D-Spark is super flexible target removal, it even gets rid of the One Ring for example. For extra board protection, I'm also adding in the new Duty Beyond Death, which doubles as board protection but also grows our army. I think this card's really sweet. We still have some budget left, so to round things out, I've added Garna, which is basically a second extra Zergo in our deck, Vampire Gourmand, another sack outlet for attacking creatures that also draws cards and it's just super mana efficient. Nayali gives all our tokens double strike and draws cards. Corrupted Conviction and Village Rites are essentially Ancestral Recall if we sacrifice an attacking token with Zergo on the battlefield. Straight up 1 mana draw 3 is pretty good. Response to Resurgence is flexible removal but also extra combat, which is great in a deck loaded with combat triggers. And finally, I'm making the lands a little bit better by adding the Snarl lands, which are better than what Seth would have you believe. Worst case, they are tapped duels, but they usually enter the battlefield untapped, especially early game. And of course, what better finisher for a go-wide tokens deck is there than Cathar's Crusade? This card is absolutely bananas, and it used to be quite expensive, but Innistrad Remastered really tanked its price. The only downside to this card is that dealing with all the counters, tracking all the individual counters for all your creatures is a major hassle, but nobody can deny how powerful this card really is. I'm not going to go through every single cut for these cards, but here's a full list of them, and obviously all the lists are in the video description below. I focus primarily on cutting the least mana efficient and least impactful cards in the deck. And as a special one-time bonus, I've also added a $50 upgrade list too. I usually don't have time to do this as well, and especially when we have 5 precons that I have to upgrade this time around, but I had some extra time, so I'm throwing this together quickly. Doubling our budget allows us to pick up some more top-tier token cards, notably Call the Coppercoats and Song of Totentads, which both immediately drop down game-winning armies. I've also added another game-winning token finisher with War Leader's Call. It's Impact Tremors plus an Anthem rolled in one. The card is bananas. Most importantly though, I've started morphing the mana base into a white catch-up ramp package, aka the Commander Clash Special. Loyal Warhound, Knight of the White Orchid, and Claim Jumper are here, plus the Ravnica bounce lands to help make things more consistent. I've also added a token ramp card Legion's Loyalty, essentially a 1-mana rampant growth that comes with a token. It's so good. Now, if you want to go even further with upgrades, the remaining token-themed cards I'd look to add are 4th Eolingus, I don't know how to say that properly, Charismatic Conqueror, which is especially good if your opponents are bad at Magic, and Season of the Burrow, which just is so flexible and works especially well with Zergo, because if it ever dies, you can use that 3rd mode to reanimate it with Indestructible. It's just really, really good. And then finally, I'd for sure be adding Ink Shield. The card just wins games all by itself. Dragonstorm hasn't been fully revealed yet at the time of this recording, but All Out Assault is definitely a card to pick up as well. Extra combats are amazing in a combat deck full of attack triggers, and the Anthem is just perfect for a deck full of 1/1 tokens. Alright, and that's how you upgrade Mardu Surge for $25 or more. If you can only add 2 cards to the deck and have less than $5 to spend, those 2 cards absolutely should be Path to Exile and Settle the Wreckage, but hopefully the rest of my recommendations help too. You can find the lists in the video description. That's 1 Precon down and 4 more to go, so be sure to check back on the channel soon as we do previews for the rest of the remaining Precons and then also the Precon upgrade guides. So until next time, friends, see ya!